Sure. I'll share some thoughts and then open up for questions. But if you're like me, you enjoyed the 70-degree turnaround today on the weather, and I spent some time outside. But it gives our spring sports some hope. We have 19 of 20 sports that are participating in competitive seasons this spring, and so if you check the calendars, and I have, on some of those days, we have 7 or 8 events on each day. So, and then the one that's not in competitive season, football, they start their spring ball this weekend. So a lot going on. Last year, I know Coach Drink didn't get a chance with spring other than maybe 3 practices before being shut down. So big difference. I know they're excited. A lot of teaching and learning and working with their team. So that'll be fun. Hosting the men's swim championships this week here. Had diving and men and women diving last week, and we had an SEC champ, Savannah. She did a great job. We're going to feature her today at halftime or sometime, and we'll show some of those dives. And if you want to challenge her, I'd love to see the video of that. It's really pretty special. Obviously, men and women's basketball regular season's closing in on the tournament time, and I think women's basketball's peaking at the right time. They're a tough team to beat, and they really missed that first part of the season, the non-conference part, and they're starting to gel. And I expect them to cause some havoc in the SEC tournament, and if they don't make it to the NCAAs, that they'll be in postseason with the WNIT. Men's basketball, obviously a great resume, and what Coach has done it's really the turnaround of our program from when he came 4 years ago is significant, and I think we're 11 weeks in as far as being a top 25 team. So just consistency through the year, which you would expect with the season or the seniors that are involved, and getting Jeremiah back after he was out due to a death in his family. I think just has rejuvenated them, and I look for a great game tonight. Number 5 wrestling's at the Max this week. They're driving there right now, I think, and we're co-hosting with St. Louis the NCAAs. So hopefully we can. I know Coach Smith has his eyes on placing very, very high. So excited about that. Volleyball, soccer, and cross country are in their non-competitive, but it's a competition season this year. I think their championships are in April, and indoor track is at SECs this week as well. So I think I've said in a previous one the number of times that we've met the SEC, and you got a chance at Commissioner Sankey a few weeks ago here. We've met over 100 times via Zoom in the past year, and in a normal year it's 11 phone calls and maybe an hour, and then maybe 5 in person. And we've had three in persons and over 100 meetings. And so things continually change, and it's been good. We've got great communication with all our ADs and our coaches groups, our protocols. Those served us well as we headed into this. But our staff's busy. Walsworth Family Comms Club is a regional vaccination site for the state, and with MU Health, teamed with MU Health, and right now there's only enough vaccines for them to open up for a couple days a week, every couple weeks, and so we're looking for that to really partner with them so that by fall we're fully vaccinated. We can have we don't have to be limited as far as selling tickets, and excited about that. We're still navigating and adjusting to schedules, to budgets, and as I said in the fall, COVID obviously wrecking having havoc with our budgets, but we're working with the system and the university CFOs to work through, make our way through this year. We've settled last year. Actually, Nick, I think our NCAA financial report is out, and we sent over a record $22 million in revenue back to campus during this past year, That amount has increased by $6 million even since the 4 years that I'm in my 5th year, but the 4 years that I've been here. So it's increased. The highest areas where we're spending money with the institution is 11.4 in tuition, room and board, and fees, and overall spend over $12 million on scholarships. But institutional overhead that we pay to campus, that's closing in on $4 million a year. So those are the largest areas. Because of COVID and the NCAA tourney being shut down in last fiscal year that ended June 30th, we, along with cancellations, and left us with a 8.9 operating deficit for FY20. So we've mentioned before, we've reduced expenses last year and current year. We're down about 45 positions. We're starting to add some of those back because we just can't function without, and having so many sports in the spring, we couldn't function without replacing some of those. But we eliminated incentives, we reduced salaries, we have essential spending only. Travel is only with team travel, and that's all the travel we have. So we've done a lot, but I think what's hopeful is our 2021 renewals look strong. 85% of our donors maintain their donor level from last year to this current year, even without their tickets. So that has really helped. Obviously, the revenue sharing with the SEC, and we'll close that gap this year on our budget, and we're hopeful there. Just to kind of finish up, it's really important for me and for all of us, and is during these unprecedented times to really focus on what we're about and our core values. And we're obviously, as I came here, winning it right was very important, and doing things the right way, competing for championships, going to postseason. And I've shared with President Choi and our board really 4 areas, and it breaks down to academic success. We think we can provide one of the best experiences in the country and graduate 100% of our student athletes that exhaust their eligibility. And right now, for the last 5 years cohort, we're at 96.7. That's 303 student athletes that exhausted their eligibility, and we only have that. I think there's 3 that aren't really accounted for that aren't either going back to school. I think overall 10 haven't graduated. Tammy Chivas calls them their bad boys, and she's going after them, and 5 of them are back in school, and we really encourage our student athletes to finish with a degree here, and so we're excited about that. We announced, I think it was a week or so ago, a record 95 student athletes were honored honor roll for the SEC, and the previous high was, I think, 86. Athletic success. As I came here as a land grant, as a Power 5 in the SEC, we need to really focus on going to postseason each year, and really that's our goal. Go to postseason, and with those sports that we fund and our highest profile, really settling in on top 25 status. And going into this week, we had 7 of our teams that are in the top 25 currently. I think men's track and field, indoor, and then football they were in the top 25 during their seasons. So obviously wrestling's the highest ranked there, but I'll read them to you. Men's swimming and dive at 9, softball's at 19, gymnastics 23, men's basketball dropped to 24. Men's swimming and diving 25, and volleyball 25. Another area, third area of goals and focus was really to galvanize and promote Mizzou throughout the state and the nation, and we've been partners with Extension and have ambassadors in 102 counties. Nick sends a weekly update to them each week, and we're engaged across the state and also across the nation. Mizzou Youth Experience we've done. We partnered with Columbia Rec, and we're hosting the NCAA's national championship, bringing a national championship to Mizzou and Columbia, and then St. Louis hosting wrestling and other events. Fundraising-wise, we've had 4 of the 5 highest years in history in cash. fundraising, and that's because of the efforts in our annual fund and then our special projects like the South End Zone. The one year that's an outlier, the Laurie family gave $25 million for this building, and so we want to beat that at some point in time here. So a lot of great support by a lot of great Tigers across the state and nation. And then in the universities, they completed our Time to Lead campaign, the fundraising campaign. Athletics finished 130% over goal and was the highest within the university by over $100 million. Then lastly, inclusive excellence, and Brian Brown has really been a treasure and an asset to this department. First as an athlete here, but as he's married to one of our most famous athletes, Natasha Kaiser Brown, and she's been spotlighted on the SEC network and with her accomplishments. But he's put together a volunteer group, Macy, that's really focusing on our training and education, our hiring practices, and how can we be better as a department. And I'm excited about the efforts there, both with our student athletes. Mizzou for Change was the slogan that they came up with, and our Black Student Athlete Association was formed this summer. So a lot of great things going on, and I'm excited about where we are. It's obviously been a long drain, and our staffs are tired, but we're excited. What keeps us going is what we're able to do with our student athletes and having an impact, and graduating student athletes and having them have success on the court as well as the classroom. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Jim, you're the first I've heard say they're expecting full houses for football in the fall. So can you take us through that idea again?
Well, if you talk to the expert, we're planning on, and then we'll have to pivot and adjust if we're not vaccinated enough and we don't have herd immunity by that time. We can't do anything but plan on not limiting our sales, and so we're excited. I think the progress that's been made, and especially in the last 2-3 weeks of the positives going down and hospitalizations going down. So we're trending very well and hopeful that it even improves by this summer.
Jim, speaking of vaccinations, is there any plans as far as like student athletes go? Have you guys begun to think about how that process will go?
Well, we're just part of the process with the county health, and so we'll be encouraging them to sign up for their vaccinations. And there may be a point, it's not there yet, of them coming MU Health saying, hey, we think we can do your group, or it'll be part of the student group as a whole. So when they solve that one, we'll be solving our athletics one.
Jim, you mentioned the budget. I think it was back in December in an email you had said it could be a $35 million loss.
Currently, the current year.
Is that still tracking that way? How much of a concern is that as this year ends and you look towards next year?
So overall, we're doing better than we thought as far as controlling expenses, and really didn't know how travel would be impacted as much as it is, and you saw where recruiting dead period is extended to May 31st. The budget folks are loving that because it doesn't allow that travel to occur, and so we have plans with the SEC and our revenue sharing should help us close that gap, and so we don't know. We think we have a shot at more of a balanced budget this year, but obviously with a lot of moving parts, we don't know.
Jim, any update on the new football indoor facility? Eli told us there were surveyors out in the parking lot today. You could see him from his office.
I heard that. Yeah, that's really positive, and they're looking at what trees have to go down and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's moving along. The design should be completed by the May board meeting, and we're hopeful to have a financing plan by then so that we can move forward, and then it would be an 18-month construction period.
Jim, what do you think some of the benefits are to having a new football facility?
Obviously, a lot for football, but also our other sports. It got a little crowded, during the polar vortex, trying to have teams in there. So I think we're the most northern SEC school, and we're also the only major university within this surrounding states in our surrounding states that don't have a full indoor. We've been at a competitive disadvantage from that standpoint. So creating, actually the first day I had Coach Drinkwitz here, we were driving in a golf cart, and we were looking at potential, can we renovate Hearns? Can we put it over by the Matsy? And then, settled on the south end zone. And he said, I'll bet, if you asked all our coaches, they don't have enough indoor space. And he was thinking not only for football, but also for them. The last couple of weeks, I think when we had to go inside, they weren't able to run a practice like they normally would, or throw deep balls, because it would impact others on the field. So it'll be a huge benefit from a practice and conditioning standpoint, but it'll be used all year round by them as well. When it gets really hot, they can use it as a place to get good workouts in as well.
Geographically, is that are we talking just basically like right on top of Lot G, or does it go into that wooded area? Or?
It's into the wooded area. It's Lot C up above one. So we take part of that lot, and it'll take part of that. We'll lose some parking spots, but we're hopeful to gain some back as well, as an ad alternate on the project.
Jim, I know one of the board members said he wanted to see athletics pay for that completely. Are you confident that'll happen? You guys
We did it with the south end zone. That was it ended up with the video $104 million, but we do that. That's what we do. I didn't think of it in any other way.
Jim, the challenge of the additional year of eligibility for seniors, can you speak to that? And how many total do you anticipate coming back?
I don't think our coaches know. I don't know if the kids know. But there are some. Tim or Sarah, have you guys?
Football's got 12.
Football has 12 overall. So we're going through, and they're having those conversations as their seasons end, and as next year gets closer, then decisions will have to be made this spring for that. But we're not limiting that. We're allowing them to come back. What kind of bill that'll be, we don't know as far as extra scholarship costs, but it won't come cheap.
Jim, I know there was conversation about teams opting out of conference tournaments, but we haven't actually seen it happen yet. I guess just what's kind of the league's message been in talking to you all about that?
I think, if they were opting out of tournaments, I think it would impact their they haven't said it as such, but as you look at it, it could impact their automatic berth. So they have to determine that automatic berth as a conference. So how are they going to determine that? And I think that's gone by. This Friday. So I think any decisions on that would have to be made by that time. And I think that there's a lot of good basketball to be played, and those conference tournaments get you geared up for the NCAA, so it should be pretty special.
Jim, with the nature of the spring, and you mentioned the pandemic is progressing, at least recently, in a good way, is it a constant conversation or something you'd revisit with the league in terms of attendance restrictions at venues, or is that something that comes from the local health department with the nature of a lot of these sports being outside?
For the spring?
Yeah.
It's a local decision, and so the league really, didn't mandate anything that way in the fall or the winter. It's more of dealing with your campus and your community.
Is that something you'd go back to the local leaders and say, hey, is this a time we could look at increasing that as we go along?
We meet on a weekly basis, and a couple of folks, as far as a COVID incident command, they call it, and they're in constant contact with the health department, and so I would love to get to that point where we feel we could push it and increase the attendance. But it will be restricted for softball and baseball, and we'll see where we go from here. But yeah, I like your optimism.
Jim, it's been about a year now since the SEC tournament, the men's tournament was stopped early, and we first started dealing with COVID in the sports world for the first time. What do you remember about those days, and then how has that changed your approach to being an athletic director over the past year?
Yeah, I think my wife said I needed to get help, psychiatric help, because I called, who did I see? Christina, and I called Jeff Long. I said, your daughter said I should call you because we sound like we're in the same boat, and it was not knowing, you're trying to plan and trying to move forward, but I think the biggest thing all of us were kind of in shock when we got shut down, and not knowing the whole unknown of how bad is this going to be, how long is it going to take, all those things, is there, a cure, those kinds of things, those were all on your mind as you shut down, and then the university shut down, and really the town and state and nation shut down, and so what I feel great about is that we were part of the solution too of the comeback, and we had and Tim and Nick and Sarah were on our repopulation committee, as we called it. We had our trainers, and then we had team doctors, and we were part of gaining confidence to come back, and I think along with the vet med area, had students come back first and then started practicing, and I think gave people confidence that you could do it in a safe and a controlled way, and we've been able to do it. So I feel we just had an all-staff meeting, and I told them you should feel very, very proud of what you've done during this time, to have the successes on the court and field, and then also in the classroom during this time has really been something that I listened to the Women's in Sport luncheon today, and Holly Rose said sports are important, and it's been important during this time to have sports. So I feel good about what we've done.
Jim, you mentioned how impressed you've been with Konzo and the team. I believe he's in year 4 of 7, if memory is correct, of his current contract. Is there any desire on your part for an extension or to kind of just renegotiate that deal at all? Yeah,
he's done a heck of a job, and yeah, it's that time in the contract where you start to look at it and, okay, Konzo, what's important to you? Let's talk, and he wants to be here. He's building a program. He wants to be the last team standing sometime, and I think he has a great opportunity to do that here, and we want him to do that. So we're excited about the future under his leadership.
Jim, with the SEC championships coming up for men's and women's basketball, have all of the athletic directors finalized the details as it comes to, attendance, COVID protocols, and all that stuff?
Yeah, we've got another call tomorrow, and I think they're one of the things is I just looked at it before I came up here, and it's the testing regime. It's going to be similar, I think, is it, to the NCAA, where 7 days prior and negatives prior to going to Nashville or to Greenville, and they'll have tier 1 levels of people that they're not going to let those folks needed to stay isolated and as far as not being around other people. So they're going to be in a strict testing mode and making sure that it's safe to play.
Anything else? Jim, I think the softball team's desire for an indoor facility predates you being here, but do you have any sense of where that is on the do list whenever you're done focusing on football, and can that be done in Divine?
Well, that's what I told Larissa last year, Coach Anderson, that we were in there and she was practicing in there, and I said, you need to think about how you would modify this building to make it, what else do you need in here to be able to elevate your practices in here. So, obviously baseball and softball would be using it, and soccer, but But I think we can do some things to make it even more more accommodating, I guess, to increase cages and things like that to make it play.
All right. Thank you all.
Great to see ya. All right, get a win tonight.